Thank you very much. My Willis Towers Watson colleagues and I are delighted to be here with you this week to explore the topics of sustainability, climate change, and the future of work. And I really appreciate the chance right now to share with you some of our perspectives on stakeholder capitalism as we get ready to listen into a conversation with Larry Fink. Now, I'd like to start with a thought about choices. We face a lot of them, don't we, in life and as leaders? When it comes to health, should I adjust my diet or my exercise? When I'm on the competitive field, should my value proposition be about depth or breadth? When I'm allocating resources, should I be focused on tenets of stakeholder or shareholder capitalism? Personally, I don't like any of the choices in those questions. I think they're all false dichotomies. Depth or breadth, diet or exercise, those aren't mutually exclusive. Stakeholder or shareholder capitalism, are they any different? I know all of us hear and see commentary about the need for us as leaders to make choices between shareholders and customers, shareholders and employees, shareholders and the community. But as I read Larry Fink's recent CEO letters, I did not read choice. I read convergence. I didn't read ignore profit. I didn't read maximize profit this quarter only. I read insights about factors that would enable us as leaders to generate long-term sustainable growth and profitability. And when I think about balance, I think about the Toronto International Film Festival. And I think Larry Fink's letters ask us to create a balance around all of the stakeholders. And why do I think about TIFF? I think it's a great example of overcoming and not succumbing to false choices. TIFF started out as a small but ambitious festival, but they were struggling to generate the buzz that brought movie makers, producers, and distributors. They were missing that hook, a jury prize like most of the top-tier festivals provided. They were worried, though, if they introduced a prize like that they would lose the atmosphere of big tent and it would move to more elitist. Or would it? Pierce Handling, the director of TIFF, did not succumb to that false choice of big jury prize on the one hand versus inclusivity on the other. He found an opportunity to promote a People's Choice Award, an audience vote that would generate the buzz he needed. And at the same time, he reduced all the barriers to participation, and he convinced industry executives that an audience vote would work. And it did. TIFF moved up the ranks, and within 5 years, it was touted as more relevant than Cannes. And today, it's one of the world's largest festivals with more than 500,000 people attending every year. TIFF did not choose between principles and commercial success. They chose both. And my view is that the same notion should apply to shareholder and stakeholder capitalism. There shouldn't be a difference. The interests of shareholders, customers, employees, and the communities are all connected to an organization's long-term success. So obviously, when customers are loyal and employees are engaged, and the community reputation is positive, and shareholders continue to invest, an organization will thrive. Now, of course, to maximize long-term profit, a company needs to attend to its purpose, its strategy, its people, its reputation, its culture, its financial results, and the dynamics and dependencies across all of those. And over time, there needs to be an optimal weighting and cohesion. I wanted to consider one of those stakeholder groups that I've been talking about, employees. At Willis Towers Watson, we wondered if top-performing organizations interact with this stakeholder group any differently. Do they offer an employee experience that's distinct from that offered by lower-performing organizations? So we poured over some data we had, and guess what? We found out they do. Top performers get the basics like organization structure and fair pay right, and then they go further. But it's not about how much they spend, it's on how they allocate their spending. They excel at creating a diverse and inclusive workforce. When it comes to pay, they focus on clarity, transparency, and differentiation for performance. They offer programs that enhance well-being, physical, emotional, social, and financial well-being. And they embrace a broad array of learning and development programs for their employees. And then, employees help them outperform the market, and their strong results are used to fund the investment cycle for all stakeholder groups. So aligned interests do lead to the best results for all stakeholders. Importantly, though, that doesn't mean, as we strive for optimization, that every stakeholder group is going to have equal pull all the time. There will be instances when one stakeholder group outweighs another. The issues emerge when that becomes protracted or extreme. And we can all bring to mind quickly some examples when that imbalance has happened with shareholders. And there has been a negative impact to culture or integrity or oversight. And eventually, significant problems emerge. That imbalance can happen with other stakeholders as well. Those don't come to mind so often because they're viewed as well-intentioned. But think of that organization that wants to create a fun, engaging workplace and overspends on lavish perks and ultimately calls into question the sustainability of that organization. To get the balance right, we do face real choices and difficult decisions, but not stakeholder versus shareholder. It's about finding the right optimal balance. How to get to that right balance? We at Willis Towers Watson, through our experience and research, came up with 3 principles to guide decisions. First one is to define and quantify the linkage across employees, customers, and shareholders, and then equip leaders to make decisions within that framework. We've found that organizations that invest appropriately in engaging and enabling their employees have stronger customer results, better operational results, and higher EPS. Helping leaders understand those drivers of engagement is key to getting to the right decisions. Second, map the risks. Do the work to identify the full range of risks your organization faces: climate, talent, financial, operational, reputational, competitive, and then put together an action plan that protects your assets, builds resilience, reduces your exposure, and then finds the right approach to financing and ensuring those risks. And then third and finally, do not underestimate culture. Culture signals what is important, from integrity and dignity to customer focus and efficiency. And a desired culture, importantly, doesn't just come about organically. It has to be intentionally managed through leadership, communication, reward, and recognition. So all of this does take courage to listen to the input needed to make those decisions, to make adjustments, courage to stick with tough decisions even if it's not popular with one stakeholder group, courage to overcome false choices like Pierce Handling did at TIFF. How each of us does this will differ. Some of us this year might focus on reskilling talent. Some might focus on mitigating the risks of climate change. And some might actually cut costs. But all of us, I know, will be thinking about all stakeholders to come to the optimal balance and ultimately maximize profit over the long term.